how much should I charge? This is one of the topics I hear discussed most within the scalp micropigmentation industry. Everybody wants to know how much they should charge, how much their competitors are charging, how much is too much, how much is too little, etc. And look, having worked with hundreds and hundreds of scalp micropigmentation artists over the last few years, I think it's fair to say I'm probably in a better position than most to give guidance here on what I've found to work best and perhaps how you might want to go about pricing your S&P services. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the different factors you should consider and how you can then decide exactly how much to charge for your S&P services. Now, just before we get into that, my name is Michael Keenan. I'm the founder and CEO of Fill Your Clinic. At Fill Your Clinic, we help scalp micropigmentation artists like you scale past $30,000 per month by helping them effortlessly attract and close new clients 24/7, even whilst they sleep. If that's something you'd like to learn more about, then I'd encourage you to click the button below this video and book in a call to speak with me or a member of my team. Okay, so in order to decipher exactly how much to charge for your scalp micropigmentation treatments, there's a few things you want to first consider. Those are your markets, the market that you're in, your portfolio, and how wide an array of procedures you have content from, and also your experience. Now, experience we're going to touch on a little bit later on, and what I mean by this I think is going to surprise you. Okay, let's start off here and talk about your portfolio. Look, as a brand new S&P artist, if you're in that spot and you don't really have much or any content to show, there's some things more important than charging for your treatments out the gate. In fact, if you don't yet have any examples of past clients you've done and you only have very, very few, then I'd question if you want to be charging really anything at all, or even more than maybe a couple $100 just to cover your costs. As a brand new artist, your goal should be to get as much content to show your work off, as many Google reviews and as many testimonials as quickly as possible to really set your foundation to then go ahead and start actually charging for your treatments. So with this in mind, assuming that you already have 10, 15, 20 procedures under your belt that you can show off to people who are interested in your treatment, my general recommendation is, of course, we're going to factor in factor number 2 and 3, which I'll touch on in just a moment, but we generally want to find ourselves somewhere between the range of between $2,000 or $3,000 for a general 3 treatment full S&P procedure. Now let's move into factor number 2, and I'm going to touch on how this might impact where in that range that you fall. So suppose that you are in a market where there's very, very, very few S&P practitioners, and there's also a lower number of people actually looking to get the procedure done. In this sort of market, I will often see S&P artists fall into the mistake of thinking they should be pricing their treatments down because it's not that common yet, when in fact, if your market is relatively small, you're probably going to want to increase your pricing in order to be able to do this sustainably as a full-time career. Now, contrast that with a more quote-unquote saturated market, somewhere like Los Angeles or New York City or even London or Melbourne, places where there's many, many, many people doing S&P, there's many people training new S&P artists, so there's new people entering the S&P industry all the time, but there's also a high demand for scalp micropigmentation. In these types of markets, you're going to find it slightly harder to stand yourself out from the crowd, and you may find that you want to find yourself towards the lower end of that $2,000 to $3,000 range, just to make sure you keep yourself relatively competitive. Now, of course, you can still charge what you want, but we're just talking about what's going to get you the optimal number of overall bookings so you can make as much as possible. We also have to consider perhaps what the income level and population or demographic looks like within the area that you're targeting. If you find yourself in a low income inner city, then again, you may find it harder to be able to charge on the higher end of that $3,000+ mark. So in instances like this, then you have the decision to either potentially price your treatment down, or you can price it higher and just accept that you're going to get less people booking with you, or you can move to a different area altogether where, again, you have people looking into getting the treatment done, but you also have a higher average income overall. Okay, now we're going to move on to the third factor, which has a strong impact on where you're likely to want to be pricing your services in order to get the most people booking with you. And this is your experience. Now, I'm not talking here about the number of years that you've been doing scalp micropigmentation. I'm talking more so about your experience with how many procedures you've done, how many clients you've dealt with, and really how effective you are when it comes to turning leads into bookings. If you have an incredibly effective sales process that you've been able to craft and refine over the years of doing many different SMP treatments, and you know that you can close more leads than the average SMP artist out there, then again, you're in a position where you have the flexibility to charge more for your treatments, because you know that you can convert more of those people into buyers. So you don't have to worry as much about less people buying from you. So again, to recap the points I've made, as a brand new SMP artist with no content or very little content of your work to show others, you want to consider whether it's even worth charging for your treatments, or maybe charging more than what it costs you to deliver them. Once you've done those first 10, 15, 20 clients and you're looking to really start charging proper prices for your SMP treatments, my general recommendation in the US is to be somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 for an average 3-session procedure. Now, of course, if you're dealing with a full completely bald alopecia case, then you're going to want to take that into account and charge significantly more. But we're talking here about averages. The next two factors which are going to have an impact on where you fall within that general price range are going to be the market you're in. So what is the average demographic? What is the average income level within your area? How many other SMP artists are there? And what is the demand like for scalp micropigmentation? And then finally, the third factor comes down to your experience. How confident are you in your ability to turn leads into sales? Because if this is something you're really strong at, then you can choose to charge more and you'll be confident that you'll still be able to turn leads into bookings. And this will be something that you can work on over time. As you continue to get busier and busier, you can consistently put your pricing up, because A, you're getting better at the process of turning leads into sales, but you also will have a busier calendar and you perhaps don't want as many people booking with you. So that takes us to the end of today's video. I hope this one has been useful for you. If so, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'd love to see you go ahead and like this video, along with subscribing and turning on the post notifications to make sure you'd never miss another upload. Anyway, that's all for now. I'll see you in the next video.